Hi everyone, good morning. It's Jackie coming to you from the JCC for a Pilates Fusion class. If you would like music, you can go put on some music. You should be by a counter, table, or a heavy chair to use as the bar when we get up and do our legs. The rest of it's on the floor. So let's begin and warm up. We stand with our feet hip width apart, heels right under your sitting bones. Legs forward and away out of the pelvis. We let the spine widen and lengthen back and up. Neck free, shoulders well apart. Reach up to the sky and bend the knees, swing up and down. Up and down. It's a double pump at the bottom as the hands go past. So you lower and then straighten the knees a little. And really stretch up to the ceiling. 2 more. And this time we stay down and swing the arms back and forth. And we're warming up our knees more and our shoulders. And let the arms gently come to a stop. Bend your knees, lower the behind. From the tailbone, we slowly roll up. Getting that heart rate up. Arms out at shoulder height, fingertips up. You don't want the hands to be behind you. You want to be able to see like your fingertips just out of the corners of your eyes, soft knees, widen through the heels of the hands. And as we widen, we let the collarbones and shoulder blades relax onto the ribs. And then fingertips down, widening. Widening through the collarbones, widening through the shoulder blades, sinking into your feet. And then we take the thumbs over and under, over and under. And now one goes over and one under. We keep reaching for the walls on either side, lengthening the arms out from underneath the shoulders as they rest. And then roll both thumbs back. Here's a little balance work. We take the arms behind, bending the wrist. I'll turn to my side a little bit so you can see. You're going to bear all of your weight on one side with a soft knee. Tiny pulses. We lift the opposite heel. And you want to squeeze the back of the armpit and get the thumbs closer and closer together. When you feel balanced, you lift. I'm not so good today, so I put my toe down. Depends on what side. I'm going to keep my toe down for this one, for this side, until I feel more stable. Maybe I could lift. Not today. And now we switch. So you're going to keep pulsing, or you can change to pulsing your fingertips up to the ceiling. Relax into the other leg. Keep pulsing, keep focusing on the tricep. That's the most important. If you can lift, you lift. Feeling the back of the arms. Toe down. And maybe about 10 more or so. And then bend the knees, our toe goes down, bend the elbows, arms around, and shake them out. This is going to be the same warm-up that I do in almost any of the classes that you might find in video. We're going to take one arm up, relax the knees, curl the tailbone under, and lift the arm up to the ceiling. So you're lifting your whole arm and your whole shoulder up to go over with your tailbone tucked under. Lifting up that belly button. You want to stretch all the way through the side. Now it took me about 5 pulses, but now I feel it down to my hip, so I can let go of this hand. Put the opposite side between the waist and the hip so that I push off and keep those ribs open and not collapsing. this would be collapsing down. Tailbone stays tucked under. And then let's turn the palm up for about 5 pulses up. And to come out, bend the knees, reach the arm across the front, slowly roll up. Second side. The reason we turn the palm up is because once you get more of the external muscles that intertwine between the back and the front, down our sides, it gets more internal. So it gets more to our fight and flight muscle, the psoas. Soften the knees, curl your tailbone under, the other hand goes up. We lift that arm and shoulder all the way up to the ceiling and then slightly over. And when I feel that, or when we feel that stretch all the way down to our head, we lower this arm and keep pulsing up. We're making space between the top of the pelvis and the bottom rib. That's what gives us the waist. The only bony attachments between the lower body and the upper body are just those 5 vertebrae of our lower back. Now palm up. These are gentle pulses. The more you relax, the better. And to come out, bend the knees, reach the arm across the front, and we walk down the legs, straightening the knees. I'm going to turn to my side a little bit so you can see. Letting the head drip. Elbows wide. Supporting yourself on the thighs, especially if you have any back issues. Reaching the sitting bones to the ceiling. About 10 more. And then we'll walk our hands over to one side, wide elbows. Looking through that window that you've created with those wide elbows, so the shoulder blades open and the head drips to the floor. I'm going to do about 10 to 15. Then you take that hand on that side, rest the back of the hand on the small of the back, shoulder relaxes. You lengthen up through the chest if you've rounded like I did, and you look over that shoulder. I drop the opposite shoulder towards that knee. This is a deeper hamstring on one side, plus a spine twist, a stretch for the spine, rotators of the spine. Back to the other side. After you go through center, little pulses on that side. You want to really let the top of your head fall to the floor. And 10 or 15, and then we take the back of the hand. That hand resting on the small of the back, shoulder relaxes out to the side. I round it, so I want to lengthen my chest up to have a flat back. And then turn. Shoulder drops to the opposite knee. Back to center. Bend the knees, lower the behind, curl your tailbone under to slowly roll up. We're going to do our neck relaxers now. I want to think of neck free, shoulders well apart, letting your arms just be heavy as if you were holding weights. Sometimes in class we do that. We put weights in our hands to help our arms relax out of the shoulder joint. So we're going to lengthen up to the top of the head, look over the one shoulder, and trace a level line over to the other side. We want to make this smooth and continuous, growing taller. One more each side. And then back to center. Keep your nose in line with the center line, or if you have a zipper or buttons, the nose and chin stay in that line as you drop the ear toward the collarbone or shoulder. Getting a stretch here. Then up and over to the other side. One more each side. and back to center. Drop the chin, take it over to one side, let it lift, and then the chin goes back to that shoulder, looking behind you, across the collarbones to the other side, and then lift. And here we want to try to keep our neck in line with the tailbone and heels, as if we're doing this with our shoulders on the wall and our neck back on the back wall. Good. Down to the floor. We're going to start with hip and behinds today on all fours, and we'll do a little warm up for our spine at the same time. So nice 4-point kneeling. Your hands are right under your shoulders, knees right under the hips. Big breath in, and as you exhale, curl your tailbone under and flex the spine, tail, lower back, middle, upper back, neck, looking for your belly button. And then when you inhale, the chin comes up first. Then we extend through the neck, upper back, middle, lower. Finally, your tailbone releases. One more like that. Big breath in, exhale, curl your tail under, curl under, tail to head, flexing. And when you inhale, you extend head to tail. And here's a good warm up for our abs before we start with our hip and behinds. So nice neutral spine. You have that slight curve in your lower back. You don't want to tuck your tailbone under on this one. Exhales, you reach your arm and leg away from each other, lengthening fingertips to toes, and inhale, place it back down. Exhale the other side, opposite fingers to toes, and press it down. Let's do 2 more. Should be no tipping in the pelvis. If you can't get the arm or leg up as high, this is fine, as long as you can be steady. And sit back and rest. And come on back up. This is one that takes a little practice. So because we're doing this on video, we're going to have both elbows go down to the floor. You want to make sure your elbows are right under your shoulders and you're not back here or way in front of them. Right under your shoulders. We're going to take one leg out, slide the toe out on the floor, let the leg rest, top of the thigh relaxing out of the hip, tailbone points slightly up, and then bring your sitting bones together gently. It's a gentle Kegel, slight engagement. Just gently bring the sitting bones. You'll feel your knee roll out. You want to reach for the back of you, the back of the room to lift, and then tiny pulses. You want to try to create this from the upper thigh, upper inner thigh, or actually from the pelvic floor, from the sitting bones. So you can see there's not a lot of movement going on. It's a slight, very subtle movement. But you will feel, if you can relax everything else, you're going to feel that the muscles of the top of the thigh wrapping pretty deeply around that bone. And now bend the knee, pulse it up. Now we don't want to arch our back, sticking the tailbone up, right? You keep your abs under, tiny pulses. You don't want to be out here. You want your knee lined up, right with the sitting bone. You should feel this in the back base of the behind, right where the thigh meets your glutes, meets your tush. You can see I take it up as high as I can get the front of that hip to open, and tiny pulses. And sit back and rest. This is annoying me. Do not disturb. And back up for the second side. Get yourself set up. Neutral spine, the tailbone doesn't tuck under or stick out. Gentle engagement just below the belly button. Slide the other leg out. Lengthening from head to heel. I rest my toe on the mat for a minute, and that helps the thigh bone relax out with gravity. And then reach the leg toward the back of the room, bringing the sitting bones gently together, and then lift. And then see if you can create that spiraling motion, that outward rotation, using your upper inner thighs coming together, or think of it as upper inner thigh if you can't work it with your sitting bones. The best is working it with the sitting bones. The more you relax everywhere else, making sure those elbows are supporting you and you don't have any neck tension, that's the best. It's when you're going to get the best toning effect. Now bend the knee, flex the foot, pulse up, up, up. Tiny pulses like you have a book on your foot. You want to feel just the base of the behind, but we're still lengthening out from the head to the knee. Tiny pulses at the very top. And just about there, 5 more. Good, sitting back. So different than the other videos, we're going to go to your kitchen counter, a heavy chair, a substantially heavy chair, not one that's flimsy, or you can even hold on to a door frame. Your kitchen counter, your kitchen table, a heavy chair is what we have here today. So we're going to do a second set of hip and behinds, but first we're going to stretch out the hip flexor. So you want to bring your heel up to your tush, grab onto the shoelaces or toes. If you can't get there, all you need to do is use your pants, or even some people use a strap if their knees just won't bend that much. Scoop the tush under and the knee goes back. Should feel a stretch in your thigh. And if you curl under and lift the hip bones up to the ribs, you'll open up the front of that hip, which helps us access the glutes more. Good, other side. Curl under, take the knee back. Again, the back of a long sock, your pants, or even the belt of a robe or a rope that you can get around your foot will do just as well, depending on your range of motion. Shake them out. We're going to hold on to that counter or chair or door frame. You're going to take your right toe, or whichever one you want to start with, doesn't really matter. We put that toe next to the heel and loosen up. Your hand should be on the hip so you can tell your belly button is not moving. You don't want this. It's just the leg moving inside the hip socket. And then scoop the tailbone, let the knee relax out to the side as much as it can today. Now that you've loosened it, you're bearing weight on the other side. You curl under, lift the toes, and let the knee dangle down to the floor. Tiny pulses back. This is another place where you can also practice some balance, wherever you need that other arm, or just keep holding on to the chair. So as we pulse, we're opening up the front of the hip. Try to keep time. Opening up the front of the hip and tightening right at the base of the glutes, right at the base of the behind. I keep my tailbone tucked under, lengthening through the lower back, lifting up from the front. Now draw a few circles with that knee on the floor. Nothing else moves. I'm keeping my hips still, my core engaged, and letting that knee rotate. 10 more. Shake them out. Now we're going to do the second side. I'll face you a little more so you can see. You put the toe next to your heel. Hand is on that hip. And we rotate, loosening up that hip. Mine's a little crunchy today. It needs loosening. I usually am on this side. Balance on that opposite foot. Now the knee goes out as wherever it's going to go today without anything moving here in your pelvis. Belly button straight ahead. Curl your tailbone under. Lift the foot. Let the knee dangle toward the floor and pulse back. So you're pulsing back on a diagonal, like you're making one side of the letter X behind the standing heel, the heel that you're standing on. Tiny pulses. And they're quick. Ideally, when you have more time, you should be able to do, for each position, 100 pulses, very tiny, quick, 100 pulses per minute. So that's more than 1 pulse per second. Everything else relaxes. We'll do about 10 more back before we get to our circles. Feeling it right in the base of the behind, like you're making a fist and squeezing tighter, tighter. So from the outside, you don't see a lot. Now let's get into our circles. Nothing moving in this hip. Drawing a circle. Good, and shake them out. We're going to face that counter, that chair, the door frame if you're using a door frame. Cross the first ankle, the first leg that you worked, you cross that ankle over the knee and gently sit. Bend the standing knee. If you feel any pressure in the knee, you flex the foot. So you're activating the shin muscles, and that helps protect the knee. Come back up for the second side. Cross the ankle over the knee. We let the knee relax out to the side. And then we bend and sink down. Should feel a good stretch right inside that hip. And shake them out. Now it's time for legs, leg work. We're going to start with wide format pliés. Pliés are different than squats. In a squat, your torso is going to match the angle of your shin, of your lower leg from below the knee to the ankle. In a plié, our head stays on top of our tailbone and our spine stays in space. It's called dynamic stability and movement. But here we are having something to hold on to if we need to. And we're going to widen our feet. Heels are at least as wide as your shoulders. Toes turned away from each other. But we can always adjust our toes so that we don't put pressure on the knees. If they're too far out and the knee is collapsing in, then all you do is bring your toes forward. The heels stay wide. Lean back past those heels so you're way behind your feet. I'll walk forward. Slowly down and slowly up. Tailbone does not tuck. You stay neutral. That's the tailbone trying to cheat. Pressing into the heels and especially the outside of the foot, the pinky side. That'll keep your knee tracking properly. We have 4 more. You want to try to get that tailbone as low as your knees. That doesn't mean you will today, but we work on it. 1 more. And shake them out. We're going to stay wide for the next set. If your knees are cranky, you just repeat what we just did. If your knees are okay, one or the other or both, you want to lift that heel on one side, bring it as high as you can, like you have real high heel on, leaning back. We're going to keep that heel up in space. Slowly down, slowly up. Slowly down, slowly up. We're going to do 3 more. Again, if your knee says no, you just put that foot down on the floor. Shake them out. 5 on the other side. Again, remembering if that knee tells you it doesn't like it, say, okay, put my heel down. Lean back, slowly down, slowly up. 3. I hope you're feeling your legs by now. If you're getting down there low and going slow, you should. And shake them out. If your knees are okay, you're going to come up on the balls of both feet, pressing your heels together. That looks like this. We want to make sure our heels are really pressing so that we're activating the posterior muscle chain. If your knees don't like this or your calves are cramping, you can always leave your heels down. We're going to do 2 sets of pelvic waves. Again, we want to really lean back behind our heels, come down about 3 inches, and then scoop the tailbone through the center and release it back behind you, down another inch. I'm not pushing my knees forward. I'm only staying within the range of motion that I can go on the hip axis. Up an inch, curl, release, up 1 more, curl, release. Should also feel like a stretch in your lower back, and the lower abdominals kick in at the end. But we want to open the front of the hip so that we can work the upper thigh and the glutes. Shake them out. We're going to do 1 more set of those. Pelvic waves, so no beginning and no end, nice and smooth. This time 3 curls down, or 4 if you feel like a challenge today. Lean back, come down about 3 inches, and then scoop it under and release it back. Make sure you release all the way south, all the way behind you, completely back, almost past neutral. Up an inch, up 1 more, and shake them out. Very good. Last one is probably the most unusual one. The last one we're going to do comes from belly dancing. Belly dancers have really strong thighs and lower abdominals. So whatever you're holding on to, you want to be standing very close to it. I've got the chair. You might have a door frame. You might have your kitchen counter, but you want to have your feet hip width apart or slightly wider, and toes are not turned out, they're parallel. We lean back, sit down into an imaginary chair, and we just circle our tailbone, making a small circle right under the crown of our head. 3, 4, 5, shake them out. Back into position, and we're going to go the other way. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Those are hard. Shake them out. Let's take 1 foot in the hand again, curling the tailbone under. So we do another stretch for the quads. So we just really gave them a lot of work. You stretch after working most muscle groups. If you stretch right away, you won't get as sore. You'll be able to work deeper without building up much lactic acid. Let's do the other side. Scooping the tailbone under, letting the knee go back, nice and tall. This one is where we usually work on balance. This is a great one for balance, while you're stretching out your thigh and above. Shake them out. Both hands on whatever surface you're using. Foot goes out behind you, bend the front knee. Now I don't want to drop my chest into that. I want to be nice and tall. The back foot is toe and heel are in a straight line to stretch out the gastroc, that this thicker calf muscle that's at the top of the calf near the knee. Belly button towards that surface, whichever one you're using. And then bend the back knee slightly. Without lifting the heel, you'll feel that stretch go to the lower calf muscle, which is closer to the ankle. Other side. Bend the front knee. Belly button towards that surface, pressing the heel down and making sure that foot is straight. And then bend the back knee slightly. Keeping the heel down. So that's our soleus stretch, lower. 15. Shake them out. Now we did our neck relaxers already, but we're going to go down to the floor to work on abdominals. But first a stretch. Actually, we did a little abdominals, so our stretch is going to be our bridging. So we bring our heels close to the tush. Big breath in. As you exhale, scoop the tailbone out and up, pausing at the top and slowly melting down. I want to make sure you can see all of me. Big breath in. Exhale, scoop the tailbone out and up. Pause at the top. Keep that tailbone hooked to the ceiling as you melt down. You want to try to feel every vertebra stretch away from the other. And where it feels like it might be stuck or a little turned, that's where you go slower. Good, let's bring the knees up to 90 degrees. 90 degrees at the knees and feet. If you feel your back kick in, push down into the floor or lift up, just by bringing the legs up, you're not ready for open chain work. So you put the feet back down and you're gonna do marching knees. That would be the regression. If your back can't handle it right now, this is a way to strengthen and not let those back muscles get used to helping. But if you can be up here, open chain, meaning the feet aren't supported with anything. Big breath in as you nod your chin. Exhale, rounding the top of the head up and in. The ribs sink down and in. Tailbone stays on the floor as we use our arms out and up to really fold over those front ribs and open up the back ribs onto the mat. The tailbone sinks down into the mat. Release one hand, the other, shoulder blades stay together. And we do tiny pulses, letting your belly button sink to the floor. The more you can release the surface muscles of the abdominals, the more you can relax the outer mobilizers, the more those internal stabilizers have to work. So you need to sink that belly button, hollowing below the belly button. If your neck feels like it has any tension, you support, but never pulling the neck forward, lifting up from behind your ears, from where your jaw attaches behind your earlobe. You can reach. If you get tired, you can hold on, still letting the belly button fall, or just relax and get up and back up into position. And relax back, hug the knees in, circle. Circle the other way. And now both feet can go down. This is a new one. I haven't done most of the time. You're going to take your knees to one side. This time definitely supporting the head. Nod the chin. As you inhale, as you exhale, you want to lift your shoulder blades up and off the mat, closing off between the ribs and the top of the hip. And we're going to look on an angle toward the ceiling. Tiny pulses. Because we don't want to round in. We want to really be concentrating on that side. Breathe and relax everywhere else so that you're concentrating all the energy. This is real muscle isolation. Learning how to put all the energy into one spot is where you get the best toning. And relax down. Hug the knees in again and circle. And then let's go to the other side. Shoulders stay down, but you let the knees relax out to the side wherever they need to be. Eye line stays up to the ceiling. We inhale, we lift the shoulder blades up, and as you exhale, you squeeze right between the bottom rib and the top of the pelvis, the top of the hip. Tiny pulse of breathing. In more, tighter, 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 tighter. Are you breathing? That helps you relax the surface and concentrate all the energy into where you want to work. I think we have about 15 more seconds on this side. And relax down. Hug the knees in and circle one way and circle the other way. Legs are going to come up to 90 degrees again. This one, single heel dips. You can do marching knees. If your back is kicking in by now, to spice it up, you can get your head and shoulders up or reach farther out. These are all different ways that you can vary this. You can also do crisscross, opposite shoulder to knee, without bringing the elbow forward, just the shoulder forward. So those are a few variations here. Hug the knees in and circle. Circle the other way. And we're going to stretch to finish. Cross one ankle over the other knee. We're going to do this hip stretch again. We start with this side. And this could be enough stretch for you today. If that hip doesn't feel like you get much stretch, you bring it in. You lift. But you want to keep your tailbone pointed into the mat. And here's a good time to loosen up the ankle, making big circles with the toe, whether you've lifted or not. Big circle with the toes. Other side. Cross it over. Knee out to the side. Lift up. Keeping the tailbone on the mat. And only lift if this hip tells you it doesn't have enough stretch. You need more. For some of us, this is it. This is plenty of stretch. Circle. As with all stretches, we don't go to a point of ouch, because that's just going to make your muscles tighten. You want to go to feel a good stretch, go to your range of motion, but not to the point of forcing. Both legs out. Just take a moment to notice. Notice any differences right to left. I'm going to stretch one side at a time. Good. Hug the knee in. We circled already. We can do a little more. And now you want to straighten the leg, even if it's down here, and take it up to the ceiling. Tiny pulses to stretch the back of the hamstring. You can always use a yoga strap or the belt of your robe or anything that you can put around the arch of your foot if you have longer legs. I have the advantage of short legs. And then you point the toe, flex the heel. So we want to get a shin stretch and a calf stretch. And then bend the knee into the chest, arms out at shoulder height, palms up, and we roll that knee to the other side, getting a spine twist. You can look over that shoulder. So you're looking away from the knee to give yourself that rotational stretch all the way up through the cervical spine, through the neck. Bring the knee back up toward the elbow to slowly roll your pelvis along the floor. Now just take one moment. Take one or two breaths and notice how the two sides feel differently. You stretch one and you let the brain, the neurological system that tells us where we are in space, you let it notice the difference. Then it can self-correct. Hug the knee in, second side. We can do a few more rotations to loosen up the ankle because we did that work when we were up on the balls of our feet. And then lengthen the leg out. Take the heel up to the ceiling, tiny pulses. Point the toe, flex the heel, point, flex. Flex, we're stretching our calf, stretching the shin. Then bend the knee, arms out at shoulder height. We roll the knee over to the other side. And look the other way. Getting that stretch through the cervicals. Sinking into the floor. Breathing into the back and side ribs. Because that's where our lungs live. Bring the knee back up to the elbow. Slowly roll the pelvis along the floor. Take that leg out for one more moment to notice. See if you feel a little more even now. Then coming up, we bring both knees up into the chest. Roll to one side. You roll your forehead to face the mat so that you're protecting your neck. Your arms are going to bring you up. Arms out at shoulder height. Legs out past shoulder height. You're sitting up on your sitting bones. And we're going to do our inner thigh and one more lateral flexion. So we're rolling forward. We don't want to drop the chest. It's the belly button trying to reach forward. Should feel an inner thigh stretch. If your knees roll in, you're too wide, you just bring your legs a little closer. Over to one side, but the opposite hip stays down. And to the other side. Now let's go back to the first one. The back of that hand rests on the inner thigh. Opposite elbow up and over. Turn your palm to the ceiling. We use that hand against the inside of the knee to turn. And then do a side bend. And bend forward, the arm across the front. You can do the same thing on the second side to finish. Take that opposite arm up, right by your ear, palm to the ceiling. We turn. And do your side bend, letting that hand slide out. Letting the ear fall. And bend forward. The arm comes across the front. I hope you enjoyed the class and have a wonderful day.